All right, so this lesson is once again very similar to our previous lessons, except this one is focusing on geometric patterns. So we're looking at this picture here with the blocks. And it says, how can you describe the block towers? Talisa made 3 block towers. She recorded her pattern. If she continued the pattern, how many blocks would be in a 10-story tower, a 100-story tower? So a good amount of the time, you're going to be given a chart, a table, to go with it. But not all the time. You never know. So you want to use these to help you out. So let's take a look. It says the number of stories. So number of stories and the number of blocks. If there is 1 story, there are 4 blocks. If there is 2 stories, there are 8 blocks. If there are 3 stories, there are 12 blocks. So now we're looking on to figuring out what the 4th story and what the 5th story has, but we're not even done there because the question was how many would be in a 10-story, how many would be in a 100-story. So let's see if we can kind of figure out what's going on here. If 1 story has 4, well, usually if I'm given the 1, that kind of gives me my key right there. So I'm going to see if I can use that. And I'm looking at the picture to help me too, because this time the picture really will help me out. Here's the first story. It's got 4 blocks in it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's one with 2 stories. 4 on the bottom, 4 on the top. 4 plus 4 is 8. So each time, what am I doing? I am
multiplying by 4. Multiplying, yeah.
So each time I'm multiplying by 4. So I could say I've got 4 2 times, or I've got 4 1 time, I've got 4 3 times. So I could say that my rule is times 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. If I were to even draw a picture, I'm not going to, but if I were going to draw a picture, my next one would show 4 times. It's like an array almost. So if my rule really is times 4, then what's 4 times 4? 16. What's 5 times 4?
20.
Another thing that you can look at is that each one of these increases by 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. 16 plus 4 is 20. That shows that you're adding the 4 on top of it each time. So if I'm pretty confident that my rule is times 4, then what is 10 going to be? 40. What's 100 going to be?
400.
I'm not going to draw that one for sure. But if we can find that rule, then that's really going to help us out. And that picture actually makes it a lot easier for us. So let's take a look at another one. This one is a little bit different. This one's like stairs. So when you've just got the straight, like here's 1, 2, 3, and then I add another like that, and then I just keep doing that, that's no problem. That's multiplication, because it's the same amount getting added each time. Same getting added each time. That's important to know. But when you have this, the staircase, I'm not adding the same amount each time. So let's look at this one. Number of stories and number of blocks. So if I have 1 story, I have 1 block. Does that mean my rule is times 1?
No.
No. If I have 2 stories, I have 3 blocks. And look at the picture to help you. Here's the 1, and then I added one on the side, and one on the top. If I have 3 stories, I have 6 blocks. Okay, so here's the original that I had, and then I added one on the side, one in the middle, and one on the top. So if I were to keep going, what am I noticing is happening here? What is the pattern? I started with 1, and then I added 2, and then I added 3. So this I might be seeing a pattern here. It wants me to figure out what's going to be in 4 and what's going to be in 5. Could I possibly say that my rule is +2, +3, +4, +5? Maybe I should check it out first just to be sure, especially if it's giving me these blocks here. I will say this time drawing it out can be a little bit helpful, and I'll show you why. If I were to start with the 1 block, beep, beep, right by himself, there's the 1. And then I were to show the next one, how it's the 1, and then it's got the 2 added on top. There's my original 1. Those were the 2 that were added. And I were to kind of make notes on that. And then I were to show the next bit. So here was my original piece that I had. That's the original. And then this was added, that was added. So +3 was added. So if I were to draw that again to show my new piece, this is my new piece. If I were to add more to it, I'd add 1 next to it, 1 on top, 1 on top, 1 on top. 1, 2, 3, 4. I added 4. Does my drawing have to be perfect? No. I just need to be able to see what my original piece was and what was added to it. So now that I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4 floors, how many blocks do I have in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I figured that out by actually drawing it. But it also is confirming what I think my rule is. +2, +3, +4. If I were to draw the next one, and here's the original piece. It's getting a lot bigger now. That's got my 10 pieces in it, and now I'm going to color it in to show that that's my original piece. And then I'm going to add more blocks.
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I've added 5, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors. But how many do I have in all? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So my rule was +2, +3, +4, +5. So with the staircases, that can be a bit trickier. Also notice maybe, look at the second one again. How many floors was there? 2 floors, right? And how many were added? 2. Look at this one for the third one. How many floors are there? 3 floors. How many were added? 3. Look at this one. How many floors are there? 1, 2, 3, 4 floors. And how many were added? 4. Maybe I'm seeing a pattern in that too. How many floors are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors, and 5 were added. So that's something to pay attention to as well. However many floors I have on staircases is how many have been added to it. So pay attention to that as well. So let's do some practice together. Look at number 1. Number of stories, number of blocks, okay? So stories, blocks. 1 story has 2 blocks. 2 stories have 4 blocks. 3 stories have 6 blocks. What do 4 and 5 have? Okay, I've got a picture here to help me out. But I can also look at this picture right off the bat and be like, oh, I know what this is. Because what's happening? It's the same amount getting added on top. It's just getting stacked. And when you're stacking up the same number, that's like the first one we did. So what can I do here? Hello? What can I do? Multiplication. So my rule, I don't have to draw this because I can tell. 1, 2 times is 2. Second floor has 2 on the first floor, 2 on the second floor. There's 4 in all. So what do you think my rule is? Times 2. Is 3 times 2 6?
Yes.
Yes. If I have 6 and I added 2 more on top of that, how many would I have? 8. And is 4 times 2 8?
Yes.
Yes. And if I have 8 and I add 2 more on top of that, how many do I have?
10.
And is 5 times 2 10? Yes. So my rule is times 2. Okay, but for number 2, it actually doesn't look as hard as it does. For number 2, my stories and my blocks. 1 story is 2 blocks. Okay, so there's the base of 2 blocks. But 2 stories is 3 blocks. 1 was added on top. 3 stories was 4 blocks. Another one was just added on top. 4 stories is 5 blocks. Another one was added on top. So what do you think 5 stories is going to be? What do we think 5 stories is going to be? 6. Because now, really, the rule here is plus 1. To get from 2 to 3 was plus 1. From 3 to 4 was plus 1. Or to get from 1 to 2 is plus 1. From 2 to 3, plus 1. So if the last one here only shows me 7 on the bottom, what do I know is going to go up here?
8. I mean, 6.
6. So my rule was just plus 1. Yes. And honestly, when you look at this type of picture and you can see how it's just sort of growing, you can see 1 has been added to it each time. All right. Let's look at number 5. Lionel made the 3 block towers below. If he continued the pattern, how many blocks would a 100-story tower have? Ooh, all I have here is a picture. So I'm actually going to now have to make my own table from this. So let's see. So it's always going to just be stories and blocks. Stories, blocks. Okay, the first story has how many in it? 1, 2, 3. The second story has another 3 added on top of it, giving me how many in all? 6. Okay, the third story has added another 3 to it. So now how many do I have in all?
9.
So just from doing that, I can tell what my rule is going to be. I'm adding 3 to it each time, but to actually find later on, the rule is times 3. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. But my question was 100 stories. Well, if I know what my rule is, can I figure that out? Absolutely. What is it? 300. And let's look at number 6. How many blocks would you need to make a 15-story tower in exercise 2? So exercise 2. So I'm back at this guy. Well, if it was 15 stories, what was my rule? Everything was just 1 more. So 15 stories would have how many blocks? 16. And that's it. So with this kind of lesson, you really do need to rely on those pictures and look at them carefully to help you out. But other than that, it's the same thing as just looking at a table and finding the rule. Be wary of the staircases, okay? That's where you can get into trouble. Be careful of those staircases. They might trick you.